Yay! We are live here in Boca Raton in the Kabbalah Center. Those of you who are anywhere close to us, make sure to come and join us. Come meet the wonderful people who are here. Those of you who are online, it's great to have you from all over the world. Let's see. They changed the format here. So, okay. So let's get started with our affirmation. You have it on the screen here. Those of you who are online, I printed it bigger so we can all say it together loudly. You ready? Together. Consciousness is everything. I raise my consciousness today to see the miracles and wonders of life. I commit myself to behave with greater love, compassion, and kindness to all human beings. Okay. Besides the greater, we've talked about that, greater love, kindness, and compassion, we want to also understand the other part. What does it take to see miracles? Just a quick aside while people are kind of populating from around the world. Think about it. Did you wake up this morning? Yes. Do you think of that as a miracle? Yes. Oh, people here do. How about you guys out there? Exactly. That's the thing. But sometimes we take things so for granted, we don't realize what a miracle it is that we wake up. I mean, imagine if you and I had to design the grass to grow. Not so easy, huh? Exactly. What the Kabbalists say is, as we're getting closer and closer to the end of chaos, which is the time we're in now, there's going to be a few different factors. One is, it's going to be the gray area moves out. It's either dark or light. And we have to decide which way we're going to go. As the Zohar says, the path that a person wants to go is the way they'll be led. So the more a person lets all the negative self-centered thoughts in their mind, then the world will present to them all the ways, means, reasons, justification for being self-centered. You and I, we're here in the Kabbalah Center, we are awakening the consciousness of the light force. We want to be on the path of the light. And so openings will happen, we'll be guided down the path of the light. But you got to remember, we decide. It's not the Creator. The Creator's job is done. Okay, just checking. Doesn't mean that the Creator's energy is not involved in this world. It doesn't mean that the Creator's power is not the motive force of you, me, and everything in the world. But from the Creator's point of view, metaphorically, it's done. How? Because as we'll mention a little bit today, the Creator created perfection. Now it's our job. And that's where I want to go now at this point. So let me ask you this. How many of you know of somebody who's been complaining maybe for months or years about their job, their relationship, their house, anything like that? Job is just easier. You know anyone who's ever complained and keep complaining about their job? So guess what? They complain. It's been months. They don't like the job. Maybe they should change it. They should find another job. They gripe about the people they work with, the bosses, the employees, and this and this and this. But do you ever realize what do they do the next day? Same thing. They go right back. How bad could it be if they keep going? So we want to talk about change. Change. And hopefully we'll throw in something that's a little surprising. So most people don't like to change. So I looked up, I said, okay, I have my ideas why, but this is what the internet talked about. Why is it people don't like to change? One reason is the lack of perceived or real reward. They don't see the reason to change, right? They don't think it's going to get any better. They don't think that things will be more rewarding to them. The one that's probably most common, or at least that we're most aware of, fear of the unknown. What's it saying? There's something like, better the enemy you know than the one you may not know, or something like that, right? But you ever stop and think about it? Why is it that when it comes to fear, and we have classes on fear, for those of you who want to go to Kabbalah.com, why is it when people hold on to a fear, it's always negative? Okay, the past is the past. If something bad happened in the past, it happened already. Why should there be any fear? It took place, you survived, here you are today. So you want to say you're in fear of what might happen tomorrow. Meaning the dog bit you 25 years ago. 25 years, nothing happened, but a person's still holding on to the fear. There might be a dog in the next house. There might be a dog around the corner. Or when they go to somebody's house and they hear a dog barking, they go right back to the time they got bit. Hasn't happened in 25 years. But do you ever ask yourself, how come when you travel in the future, what might be? How come it's always the bad stuff? How come nobody travels into the future and says, wow, I can see my future. It's going to be amazing. There's going to be peace and love and prosperity and joy and great relationships and good friendships. So how come everybody goes to the future and then comes back and brings back the fear of bad health, no money, people leaving them, etc. to all the bad stuff? You ever ask yourself that question? Why? Is there any guarantee that the vision of bad is any more probable than the vision of good? Or are we just writing fiction? So we have to start being fair. The third reason is people think that if they change, if they make a change, they're going to lose some status. They're going to lose some visibility. People won't see them, they'll lose their job, they won't get a better job, whatever it might be. Yet, Karen Berg often said, our teacher, she used to say the only constant in the universe is change. Even if you don't want it to happen. How many of you remember let's say 2.5 years ago? Any of you think back 2.5 years ago? No? I don't know how about you guys out there? Can you think back 2.5 years? So 2.5 years ago, did you envision and imagine what happened in these last 2 years? This pandemic thing came along and all the stuff that happened since then. Were you plotting and planning that? So even if a person doesn't make an effort to change or make an effort not to change, things will change around us, as we've seen in this last 2 years. So here's a bit of deeper consciousness, Kabbalistically. Even though things seem to change no matter what, and as Karen often said, the only constant is change. What the Kabbalists teach us, in our heart and soul, we don't feel to change. In fact, there's a part in our soul that doesn't feel it needs to change. Why? And this is the part we've got to connect to. Some of you may not know this. If you're connected to science, there's something called the speed of light, right? The speed of light, whatever it is, 186,000 miles a second. Pretty fast. But Kabbalistically, think, and those of you who have been learning in the center, how big is the light? The light is infinite. So if the light is infinite and fills all space, where can the light move? How does it move? If it's already filled space, the only reason that we think we can move, because I'm over here and there's a distance between us. There's an empty space. So I can traverse that empty space to get to you. But if the light fills everything, there's no empty space of light. Then there's no movement in the light. The light doesn't move anywhere. So I'm going to leave it to you. I was going to give you the answer, but I'm not going to do it, because particularly for you who are watching, I want you to write to me, Facebook Messenger me, and ask me, if the light doesn't move, how do the scientists measure the speed of light? So if you really have a desire to know, you will ask me. If you don't have a desire to know, it's okay with me. Now, why is it then that we don't feel to move? We don't feel to change? Because what is our soul filled with? Light. So if the nature of the light is just to be, because it's omnipresent, it's infinite, all powerful, then there's a part in us that also doesn't feel the need to change, to move. I don't know, I can't tell if I've got confused looks or I just blew some circuits over here. But you and I learned from Kabbalah 1 forward, the only reason we came into this world, the only reason, not because God wanted, don't go down that path. Those of you who are brand new, the Kabbalists believe that the Bible has truth to it, the 5 books of Moses, but that's only like the very surface, what we call the 1% level. There's a greater depth of understanding of what those stories, what those recounting of people's lives mean to us today. Has a very direct impact to teach us the technology of the universe, which we call Kabbalah. So we came here for that one reason, to do what? To take the light that's in our soul and the vessel nature of our being and transform. The vessel nature, the carrier of the light called our soul, is the desire to receive. We want eternal bliss. We want the blessings that the Creator gave us in the endless world. We want to manifest the light of the Creator. So we came into this world to transform ourselves from the vessel nature to the light nature, from desire to receive to desire to share. Or as we often say, to act like God 24/7. If God is the light and it's infinite and totally, completely fulfilled, how much can the light receive? The light doesn't receive anything. It's only sharing. We came here to act like the Creator. That's why every religion, every spirituality has ultimately one precept. That's the ultimate goal. Love your neighbor as yourself. Unconditional love. What does that mean? To be loving. A person hates you, you're still going to send them love. A person said something bad, you're still going to send them love. Because we are not going to receive, or as we could understand it, take personally anything they say bad. We're going to act like God. Why? Because the more we just shine the light, the more we act like the Creator and just let our light shine, the more blessed we are, the more blissed out we are, the more things will manifest in good ways for us. That's the only reason we came. So we came here ultimately to change. But the light doesn't have to change. It's we, the vessel, that has to change. Now, why isn't it so easy? We often talk about it, right? But sometimes we're so used to it that we forget. We have a parasite in our head, spiritual parasite. What is the nature of the spiritual parasite? In a similar way to a physical parasite. How does a physical parasite live? It's got to take energy from the host. It has no life force of its own. Has no life of its own, only what it takes. So we have also a spiritual parasite in our head that does what? It tries to take, that's why I like to call it the competitor. We could talk about it as the opponent. It's there to oppose our transformation. But it's also a competitor. Because as the endless light is flowing down, from our point of view flowing down, because I hear some of you, but it's infinite, it doesn't move. Yes, but from our point of view, the light flows down to us. That parasite in our head, the ego, the negativity, the doubt, fear, jealousy, greed, etc., is competing for that light because it's the only way it exists. And this is why, since we can remember, we've had a stream of consciousness in our own head, sounds like our own voice that says, you know, hate those people because of all the bad stuff they said or they did or they acted towards you. Be resentful because of what went on. Be greedy because it's yours and you worked for it. That's the voice of the opponent, that competitor. Our job is overcoming that, not listening to it, because What does the opponent want us to do? What does that competitor want us to do? Stay the same. Even like we said today. So I guarantee you, you know what that opponent, that parasite's going to tell us this week? Didn't you learn in Spiritual Sunday that the light in you doesn't have to change? So it's okay you don't change. You're good enough as you are. You're nice enough as you are. You're kind enough as you are. You're generous enough as you are. You're forgiving enough as you are. Stay the same. Why? Because the unrevealed light, if the Creator filled us with 100% light, and we're only revealing 40 or 50 or 60 or 70 or 80% of it, the unrevealed light is what the competitor gets. That's how it exists. That's why we still have that negative thought in our head, that negative stream of consciousness. So you say, no, I am going to change. So how many of you ever changed jobs? Anyone ever change a job? How many times when you look back, can you see maybe your own experience or people around you? They changed the job, was great in the beginning, and then a few months later, the job sounded the same, right? They couldn't stand the job. They finally got up the gumption to quit the job and go to another job because they found something better. The first 3 weeks, oh, such a relief from the old job. And then 2 months later, they're complaining the same way they did in the first job. You know, the people I work with are terrible. The bosses are idiots. Nobody knows what's going on and blah, 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 blah. And it's the same thing. So then they complain for a while and then they quit that job. And then they find another job that's great in the beginning and then it shows up the same way. Should I go there? How many of you have had more than one relationship in your life? And how many of those, if you look back honestly and objectively, were just the same person in a different body? Different hair color, maybe different nationality, different language, different whatever, but in essence, the same person. So this is what that competitor, that opponent wants us to do. Yes, think you change. You change the job, you change your house, you change the relationship, you change your friends, you change your hobby, you change the places you went to vacation. Change your car. Don't tell him I'm saying this to you, but you changed your phone. Phew, you got the latest because the other ones... You're saying? So you think you change, but it's just the same thing over and over and over again, just in a different body or a different form. So it's apparent change, not real change. So think of all the years we've wasted not changing, thinking we were changing. Where did all that energy go? Fed the opponent, fed the competitor, fed that parasite. That's why you and I, yes, even you and I, the people learning here in the Kabbalah Center, we still have that voice talking to us, trying to taunt us to do, as we call them, the reactive behaviors. That's the opponent. Gives us temporary fulfillment, instant gratification, and then 3, 4, 5 months, a year or two down the line, it all falls apart. Like a short-circuited light bulb. Big burst of energy, and then it goes dark. You and I are learning how to perceive that pattern. We're learning how to see through the illusion, to understand those things so that we can take greater control of our life. But I want you to understand, real transformation, to really change, it's the most difficult thing we can do. Nobody ran out, so maybe I didn't scare them enough. It's also the most rewarding, but it's the most difficult. Because what does it mean? To be like the light on your next level means you have to share uncomfortably. So you think you're already a kind, nice, forgiving person? I challenge you right now. Think of one person in your life that you're still holding major or minor resentment towards. Can you think of one? If you're Libra, just pick the first one comes to your mind. Don't worry about all the other ones. Right? One. So then, what would transformational sharing look like? What would raising to the next level of bliss, happiness, joy in a lasting manner look like? Forgiving that person. Ooh, can you feel the discomfort already? You don't know what they did to me. You don't know what they said. You don't know how they acted. Why in the world should I forgive them? Because if you don't forgive them, you're stuck. If you don't forgive them, and again, for those of you who are newer, forgiving them doesn't mean saying what they did was okay, saying what they did was the right thing, saying how they acted was good. No, but they have their own cause and effect. We have our own cause and effect. What I do comes back to me, no matter what you do. What you do comes back to you, no matter what anybody around you does. So the forgiveness is for me, letting go of my negativity, my limitation, my blockages, and raise to the next level. If they don't let go, change, forgive, etc., then they're stuck where they are. Yeah, it's not easy. But think now. Think of that person that maybe it's already 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 30 years, that you're still holding this resentment, that you're still feeling bad about what they did. Wouldn't you like to be free from them? As long as there's still a pain in your brain, yeah, everybody thought I was going to say the other thing. As long as there, at least one smile, okay. As long as there's a pain in your brain, you're handcuffed to them. They're with you 24/7, no matter where they are physically, or even if they left the physical world. They're still handcuffed to you and you handcuffed to them. And all of their negativity is still inflicting itself on you. Voluntarily. Because you're holding on, not them. So the forgiveness is for us to leave behind our baggage, to fly, elevate to the next level, where they and their negativity do not exist in our life anymore. That's why we need to be more kind and more compassionate and more loving and more forgiving and more generous and more tolerant. For our sake. For our sake. How does the universe help us? So here it comes. I put on the Facebook. How many of you would like to change? How would you like to change anything in your life? You want to change anything in your life? For the better, yes? Let me ask you the question though. And this, I just realized it with this clarity this week in class. And that's why I'm sharing it with you now on Sunday. Why? Why do you want to change? If we really think about it, what's the initial motivation to change? Even we're good people, kind people, our life is okay, things like that. Why? Why do you have something you want to change?
To be happier. To grow.
Yes, but what does that mean? This was my revelation, because those were my answers up until this last Wednesday. This last Wednesday, I had the good fortune that whoever's out there up there gave me the thought. Why do we want to change? The pain of lack. We feel the pain of lack. And therefore we want to change. Then you can say, yes, because I want better, I want nicer, I want to be kinder, I want this and this. But what it motivates it? What's the initial point? I feel the pain of lack. Therefore I want to change something. Why do we feel the pain of lack? Goes back to what we learned in Kabbalah 1, which is why, as many of you hear me, you can never take Kabbalah 1 enough times. If you take it 4 times a year, it's good, but you have to keep taking it. You have to keep being reminded. So why do we all feel the pain of lack? Every person on earth does. Because as we've said, even to this morning, the Creator filled our soul 100% full with the light of the Creator. the only source of lasting fulfillment. So internally, we feel 100% bliss. We feel that we have a taste of, we have a sense of, we are supposed to be blissed out all the time. Then externally, you look at your life. Do you see 100% bliss in your life? Even if you're truly making an effort daily to transform and you're at 95% of your potential, you've revealed 95% of your light, you're still going to feel the pain of the lack of that 5%. Because inside is 100%. It will never go away. We came here to make it manifest by these actions of uncomfortable transformational sharing, being like the Creator 24/7. So it's the pain of lack that is the impetus for all the other aspects. Yes, I want to share. I want to be kinder. I want to have more fulfillment, right? I want more good in my life in whichever way. I want to think I'm more spiritual. That's also a pain of lack. I don't feel I'm spiritual enough. So the pain of lack is the motivating force. Now, the opponent, what does the opponent do now? You woke up, you say, yes, I feel a pain of lack, right? I know I should have more happiness in my job, my relationship, my family, my this, that, or the other thing. But I don't see it. So remember the opponent, the parasite. What is it going to do? It's still got to take energy. So it's still got to distract. It's still got to make us think we are changing or revolving or growing and not. So for some people, what will be the first thing? And this also was an interesting thought. We talk about people out there who feel a lot of pain, especially now. Look at the world. They've been telling us one of the things that has grown in this last year and a half or almost 2 years of the pandemic and being locked in this and this, substance abuse, spousal abuse, abusive things like that. So they used to call it, I don't know if they still do, people self-medicate. They're under a lot of pressure, stress, trouble, problems. They feel overwhelmed by life. They self-medicate. You've heard that? Just want to make sure we got it right. Why do people self-medicate? Numb themselves, escape, avoid the problem, avoid the responsibility, avoid changing. Not feel the pain of the lack. Now, you and I, of course, we're all thinking, I don't do that. Sorry, we all do. Self-medicate doesn't mean alcohol, drugs, substance abuse or beating people up. I know people who self-medicate by going to the gym, by going on vacation, by going shopping. Why is that any different than self-medicating with drugs, alcohol, and things like that? It's just an escape. Oh, somebody says it's not that bad for you. Not Kabbalistically. Kabbalistically, reactive behavior brings chaos. Doesn't matter what the form is. It's the consciousness behind. So if a person is going on vacation to escape, taking responsibility and accountability for their spiritual growth, for the resentment they still hold, for the ego they still have, for the jealousy that they're still holding, for the judgment and guilt on other people, it's just as bad as the substance abuse. Oh, you could say maybe not in the physical world. Not yet. How many people smoke a cigarette and die the next day of lung cancer? No, it takes a number of years if they're going to go that path. No, it's not overnight. So how do we know that every time a person shops as self-medicating, it's not, heaven forbid, but not similar to having the cigarettes for 20, 30 years until 30 years later, suddenly it all shows up? Can any of us say it's not like that? Because the Kabbalists teach us it is. It's the same thing. The same thing. So then our job is to realize how we do that. You know how else? This is really, really dastardly of the opponent. You know how other people self-medicate? It's going to sound paradoxical. Spirituality. Before I came to the Kabbalah Center, I was involved in spirituality, different forms. And they used to call it, people used to say they were truth seekers. They would go everywhere and anywhere they could to find the truth. What's the truth? What's the truth? What's the truth? And I grew up in LA. And so back in that time, in the late 70s, 80s, you could go, it's almost like on every other corner there was a spiritual group. So I knew people who would go to all these different places, right? And it sounded so great. They were seeking the truth, seeking the truth. But even before I came to Kabbalah, and maybe that was the beginning of my opening to be literally dropped in the Kabbalah Center in 1987, I started to realize that a lot of these people who called themselves truth seekers and went out of their way to go, meditate on the beach and go to different places and read different books, they were not truth doers. They weren't doing the work. They just kept looking for more answers. Till you realize, as soon as they got to a point where it was a little uncomfortable, maybe somebody told them, you have to forgive that person. You have to be a little kinder, a little nicer. Well, what'd they do? Pick up and then they went off to the next place because they were searching for spirituality. So we can also self-medicate that way. That's why the Kabbalah Center teaches us the most difficult spiritual teaching. On the other hand, it's the most rewarding. The most rewarding. How's the universe going to help us? How does the universe help us? It's a little scary, maybe, and some of you aren't going to like it. Our soul. Remember what our soul is? Our soul is full of light. Our soul is the 100% perfect version of us. It is the light. The light is always sharing. Now, in whatever form we are all self-medicating as we now describe it, what does our soul do for us? Paradox. Most people, and this is what a lot of spiritual teachings think, if you're really spiritual, you just kind of float around, everything's great and easy, the path is smooth. No. The Kabbalists teach us, if you're really on a spiritual path, you've got to keep facing the blockages called your fear, your judgment, your anger, your guilt, your shame, your sadness, your resentment, etc. You have to face them and you have to break through them. And that as you're getting more of a taste, that's a lot more uncomfortable than just trying to be nice, we'll meditate, we'll be at one with the universe. No, but when you go out on the street, are you kinder to the person who cuts you off? Are you nicer in the store when they don't give you your way? Are you more sharing with the people at work? Or are you looking at who's out to get you? Who's out to take your job, your clients, etc.? Where's your consciousness? So our soul, as we call it now in Kabbalah 1, our soul writes the script. You ever been to a movie, watch television? It's all scripted, is it not? And the people who you're watching, what do we call them? Actors. They are actors. They are following the script. So our soul writes the script that puts out into the universe the call for actors to bring into our lives to allow us to find ourselves in challenging situations. But those challenging situations, Kabbalistically, are exactly the challenge we need, that as we will use it properly to see the reflection in us, then we can make the breakthrough, because now we've realized, yes, my soul wants me to raise to a higher level of kindness and compassion by seeing whom and where I'm still holding judgment, resentment, and anger. Then I can do the difficult effort of transformational sharing, remove the blockage, reveal more of this light of my soul, and then let the light take the proper form. You realize, as we're sitting here in this room and you're out there, you have a body. Do you not have a body? Do you know what your body really is? If you're spiritual and you're looking into alternative healing modalities, what are you really saying? The body is simply the manifestation of the soul. How the soul is reflected in this world. So when the soul's light is blocked, then it can show up, heaven forbid, as some kind of physical ailment or some kind of physical trouble. Bankruptcy, health issues, relationship issues, lack of peace of mind, stress, etc. Those show up because the light's not flowing freely. So when our soul wants us to see our blockages, it's got to bring us a challenge that gives us an opportunity to see what part of me is still blocked. Because then when I break that blockage and let the light shine out, the light will take on the proper form. The physical world is never the source of happiness, never the source of joy, never the source of peace and prosperity. The light is. The physical world can be the conduit, the means by which the light manifests, but it's never the source. As you and I open ourselves up and we're channeling more and more of the light, then the light will take on the right form. It'll give us, how many of you have ever had an unexpected good thing happen to you? Ever? If it's unexpected, what does that mean about your plotting and planning? You had no plotting and planning, right? Sometimes we want to think, yes, I studied hard for the test, I got an A. I worked real hard to make that sale, I got the sale. So we think we did it. But when unexpected good things happen, what do we say? How do we know we did? We didn't do it. Yes, you and I have learned here the accumulation of all the light we revealed by breaking through our blockages, added up, and then our soul decided the right form was this unexpected good thing. The right person came along at the right time. The right thought entered our head so we didn't go down the wrong path, make the mistake, forget something that would have been necessary and therefore could have really clogged up some aspect of our life. So it's still under our control, but the form things take, not. That's the Creator's job, meaning our soul making it manifest. So our job is just to keep embracing the challenges, because why? We want to speed up the process. If we embrace them and know they're good for us, and we understand they're showing us our blockage. Remember, the other person, the mirror has its own issue. But I want to see everything that comes my way as a mirror of me, so I can see where I'm blocked, and therefore I can break through. And then when I'm shining light, opposites do not attract. So if I'm shining light, darkness cannot enter. If I'm shining light, then to that extent, those negative things are gone and transformed. They cannot come back. Yeah, maybe the next level of that thing, but not the same. So when I see in the mirror of my life me, then I'm in control of my life and I can stay on the path. And as we said before, the Zohar says the path we want to go is the path we'll be led. So the more I want to go on the path of the light, the more I will be shown. But I have to keep my eyes open spiritually and my heart open and my consciousness open. Everything is a reflection of me. Doesn't mean, I think I shared last week, I had a couple people who kind of, gave me the business. Yes, it was painful at first. And then I stopped and I said, okay, but what's the reflection in me? Where am I doing similar things that I can unblock that? After I did that, I had conversations with them. So I'm not trying to tell you, yeah, we should just be the dish rag. Everything is my fault. No, it's not my fault. It's a reflection. But after I changed, then I was able to have a conversation and there was true transformation. Because if you're upset with somebody and you just scream and yell, they may act the way you want them for 5 minutes, but you didn't change their heart. They still may be holding the resentment or the anger at you. And then that has to come back again until we break through. So as we learn to embrace the challenges, we're speeding up the process. Why? Because Rav Ashlag, the founder of the Kabbalah Center, teaches us, as all the Kabbalists in history, there's only two motivating energies. We run away from pain and we run towards pleasure. You and I decide which. So what I ask you to do which I shared actually in class on Wednesday. Today is the day we want to start making the pain of lack. If you're getting the idea, the motivation for change, pain of lack. I perceive I don't have the 100% and I'm feeling the pain of that difference between what I've got and what I'm supposed to have. So let's start making ourselves more sensitive to pain. Not pain to other people, right, of what they've done to us, but the inner pain. Let's feel the pain of lack today as if we put our hand on the hot stove. How many of you, when you touch a hot stove, you hold your hand on the hot stove while you're yelling at everybody in the house? Who was the idiot left the stove on? Who was the one who didn't tell me that it was hot? How come you did that to me while your hand is burning on the stove? No, you don't care who did what and how it happened. You feel the heat and it hurts you. You take your hand off. Then, after you try and deal with that, then you might go around and say why and who and whatever. Let's now take the spiritual lesson to feel the pain that we feel of the lack right now as enough. Let's make ourselves feel it's overwhelming that we immediately want to change, which means what? Greater love, kindness, compassion, as we affirmed, right, in the beginning of today. Let's start doing that. Now we don't have to have, heaven forbid, the tremendous pain that a lot of people out there are going through. And they're still not getting the awareness that it's them. They still think it's that person, that they're in their level of changing the outside. They're changing the relationships, changing the place they are, blaming everybody else for their problems. Blame all you want, but like attracts like. And the soul will keep bringing people to challenging situations until we break the blockage that the soul is trying to point out to us. Blame just extends the pain and makes it more intense. So what I'm asking us to do today, feel the pain of your lack today so intense that you want to change immediately. And start to perceive heaven on earth. We said the Creator's job is done. Why? Because the Creator created heaven on earth. It's here. Oh, you don't see it? You're not living in heaven on earth? Why not? Why do you think we're not all living in heaven on earth? Our blockages. We're still holding on to our blockages. Soon as you remove that, didn't your life get better? Look back on your life. Every time you made a real transformational breakthrough, things got better. You felt more at peace. You felt more calm. You could see more clearly. That's another piece of heaven on earth showing up. And another piece and another piece. When we do enough work, it'll show up so that we'll be living in heaven on earth. That's our job. We're the ones who decide. Nobody decides for us. So, sort of coming to an end here, closing, what's the power of the Kabbalah Center? I've been doing this, I shared you, since 1987. The point of the center is not to bring peace on earth. Because Kabbalistically, that's going to happen no matter what we do. But unfortunately, the way it will show up if we don't follow what we're teaching you here, more and more pain and suffering, sadly. So the point of the center is by teaching this wisdom to every human being on earth who wants, is speeding up the process. Embrace the challenges, strengthen. My teachers, the Rav and Karen, used to say, why is this called Kabbalah? If it's all about sharing, because the word Kabbalah means to receive, getting. So how can this be called getting if it's only about sharing? So the Rav used to say very simply, what we're teaching people is how to strengthen and intensify their desire to receive the light, as opposed to the physical material. Because the physical material is a result. Yes, it's a result of bad behavior. People have millions and billions of dollars because of bad behavior. But you and I have learned at some point it's all going to fall apart, or they're not getting the blessings from it as they are now. The result of good behavior is the same thing. Good things coming our way. Things manifest, even the challenges. So it's about speeding things up, not looking for the physical material as the source, but as a conduit. That's why the people who are the actors in your movie are actually messengers, just bring you a message from your soul. Chaim, you're still holding on a little judgment, a little resentment, a little anger, a little guilt, a little shame, a little whatever. Okay, then I can fix it. And they're just there to support me by bringing me the messages and the reminders. So as we channel more light, the light will take on the right form for us in the right moment. The darkness will begin disappearing, the light will start showing up. So as they say, I remember for years and years when I first entered into the spiritual realm of things, today is the first day of the rest of our lives. Yes or yes?
Yes.
Today is the first day of the rest of our lives. As we will make it in unity and love, starting today, then we are deciding to make this the day that the light of the Creator takes over and that the darkness will disappear and that the negativity and the separation and the fragmentation and the hatred and the violence will disappear in the face of the light. Because the same thing that takes place in a physical room takes place in the physical earth. You turn on a light, the darkness disappears. So as we will allow our light to manifest more and more in love and unity, peace, kindness, forgiveness, we make the darkness disappear into thin air, and heaven on earth will be humanity's home forever. God bless. Thank you. Okay. So what I'd like to do now, those of you who've been with us familiar, and those of you online, now is the time that we bless our offering, because the projects of the center and the continuation of these programs can only happen with your support. And this is why I always like to take a few moments just to bless it. So money is not the cause, but it's a conduit. So the more we put our light, our love, and our blessing in it, the more through the projects of the center will go out and reach the heart and soul of every person on earth. And just as a quick reminder, a couple things. If you don't have one of these, if you don't have a pocket Zohar, please make sure you have at least this. If not, some of the other forms of the Zohar. But you can carry it in your pocket, you can put it in your car, have it around you, put it in your kid's backpack, keep it in your office desk, right? It just shines the light of God, period. That's all. Shines the light, takes away all of the darkness. So those of you who are here, please hold your offering in your hand. Those of you who are online, so please, I just put up the link that you can give. And let's just close our eyes and injecting this offering, this gift, with our light, our love, our blessings, knowing that they all come from the Creator. That as a vessel, understanding we are just vessels, conduits for the light of the endless world, we are opening ourselves up more and more through transformational sharing, unifying ourselves with the heart and soul of more and more people on earth who are part of the ultimate one soul the Creator created, and therefore allowing more and more of that 100% pure flow of light to be channeling through us. Health, peace, love, prosperity, joy, happiness. Strengthening and increasing our gratitude to the Creator for all that we are able to do, all that we have. And committing ourselves to be better channels, better managers of the talent, the abilities, and the resources that the Creator gives us on a daily basis. And by spreading the Zohar and this wisdom of Kabbalah, activating the light of the Creator in the heart and soul of every person on earth, awakening their sense of pain, of the lack of the blessings, and awakening the awareness inside every person on earth that they are in control of their destiny, that their actions absolutely come back in equal form, regardless of the circumstances around, regardless of what other people may do. And therefore we are strengthening our motivation, their motivation, to be unconditionally loving, because that's what we want to come back. a brighter light, taking away more and more of the darkness, more and more of the illusion of separation and fragmentation and disconnect. And as the light is brighter, we see the true unity, oneness, interconnectedness of every person on earth, and come to the greater awareness of the value to us to remove our blockages, connect with more and more light, not only our peace, but the collective peace that exists in the soul of every person on earth. As we send this light out to the world through these projects of the center, we know that it's coming back to bless us many, many times over. And together we say, Amen. Thank you, those of you online. Thank you for joining us. Those of you who are here, have an amazing, amazing week. Great holiday season. Keep in mind, peace of mind as you're doing your shopping. Don't get caught up in the stress and the frenetic energy out there. Be the conduit to just shine light. Every time you go out shopping, driving, whatever you're doing, just be a stronger and stronger conduit. And let's take away all of the chaos and make really this holiday season be what it's supposed to be. Greater love and peace and unity. Thank you for joining us. If you liked what you saw, subscribe to this channel that you'll be notified when we post new videos. Share the video with your friends, they can also benefit. And check out the website, www.kabbalah.com, that's Kabbalah, for hundreds of articles and classes. Wish you an amazing day, and God bless.